Hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a specific hypnosis session all about healing from trauma. And I was working with a client that had very extreme and traumatic moments of their past that included things like violence and suicide and very extreme things. And their nature was to be very much an empath, very much a caring, sensitive soul. And because they'd experienced these very traumatic things and they had this very caring nature, their nature was to try and protect other people from similar types of pain. But it meant that they were hypervigilant, on edge, almost coping with their past by overcompensating. So they would do things like check things quite often, like if their doors are locked or if they've left the stove on, and other things as well. And that was because they felt unsafe, and doing these things made them feel safe, albeit for a very temporary period of time. So this hypnosis session is not about making the world any safer, like no one individual is going to do that, but it is about feeling safe. And some people are able to feel safe in a dangerous situation. If you think of a Marine going into a battle, they might feel safe because they're evaluating that their resources are more than the demands, or they might just have this sense of certainty linked to their training or their previous experience. So it's possible to feel safe in an unsafe environment. A lot of journalists might find themselves in war zones, and yet, they don't necessarily feel as unsafe as maybe they should based on being in that situation. And yet it's also possible, and I've worked with lots of people that, can feel unsafe in their own home, even though they're in a safe neighborhood and they've got security and they've got locked doors and windows, and they still feel unsafe. So this is really about feeling safe and also reframing trauma into resilience. And there's a few things here. One is a metaphor of trees weathering storms. But there's a really creative one that almost kind of takes, there's a couple of fairy tales, for example, that have a spinning wheel. I think Sleeping Beauty is one, or Snow White, and the other is Rumpelstiltskin. And they have this spinning wheel that can turn straw into gold. So that becomes a metaphor of turning past experience into very valuable future experiences. And there's a wonderful reframe in there. So if you have got symptoms of PTSD, or your traumatic past is still haunting you to this day, you might get some value out of this session. Just be aware, though, it was a very specific client that I was working with, and some of the suggestions that were empowering for them, like going back to a time when they were learning yoga in India or sleeping in a grandmother's bed that felt safe for them, that might not be your experience. It's unlikely to be your experience. So just hone into the suggestions that feel useful and relevant. Disregard anything that doesn't. And if you do like the idea of working with me directly, there will be a link in the description where you can book a completely free consultation call. We'll have a chat over Zoom. And if you like, what I have to say and how I explain my process, maybe we end up working together. For now, though, make yourself comfortable, particularly in a place where you're not going to be interrupted or disturbed, and see if you can either enjoy or get some value from this particular hypnosis session, and relax. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that slow, long, relaxing breath, and as you exhale, feel that wonderful sense of release as tension, stress, and worries are given permission to be released. And as you breathe in deeper than you normally would. And as you exhale, just allow all the muscles around your eyes and eyelids to just let go. Feeling that wonderful feeling every time you exhale of releasing tension. And I want you to imagine your nervous system can sometimes feel calm and relaxed, and sometimes feel on guard and overactive. And I want you to imagine almost like a security guard on duty. And I want you to imagine your nervous system has been on guard for too long. And sometimes your body can act as if you're in a time or a place that was your past and not your present. So as you breathe in that feeling of resourceful relaxation, give permission to that vigilant guard to relax, to rest, that here, right now, they're not needed. In fact, they are only needed if you are in any direct physical danger, then you want them to return. But I want you to imagine a security guard that is, instead of doing a 12-hour shift, works non-stop for a week. Then if there was any danger, they're too tired to do anything about it. And on that basis, allow that part of your mind to be given permission to rest. And in doing so, feel a release, perhaps an emotional release or a physical release that now you can let go. And I want you to think of a color that represents pure resourcefulness, strong, powerful, empowered resourcefulness. And imagine breathing in that color. And imagine it going into your lungs, into your heart, being distributed to every cell in your body. But as you breathe out, imagine you're releasing any emotion connected to any chaotic events of the past. Maybe imagine some grey or dark color. And as you exhale, feel it leaving your body. As you breathe in that distilled resourcefulness and exhale any of those suppressed or pent-up emotions of the past, just allow them to leave. And in doing so, the deeper that you breathe, the more relaxed you become. And the more relaxed you become, the deeper you breathe. And as your physical body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to imagine that your physical body stays where it is, but your imagination floats all the way back to a particular place where you were training yoga. Imagine going back through space and time, and maybe imagine walking up to a particular building, and maybe there's certain clues, humidity or warmth in the air. Maybe it's the sound of street vendors or cows. Maybe it's just the ambience, the energy. But imagine walking into that building, and I want you to see a guru, someone perhaps you haven't seen in a long time. And I want you to feel a connection, like a thread between your heart and theirs, and just connect with them. And I want you to feel perhaps a similar way to how you felt back then, where this was the perfect place to give new meanings to old events, to figure out who you really are, and to let go of the past without forgetting it, to extract the wisdom but let go of the baggage. And then imagine perhaps going upstairs, and I want you to see a younger version of you already there, doing a particular pose, maybe a headstand, or maybe you see you on your shoulders. But I want you to see someone powerful, strong, resourceful, aligned, energized. And when you can see that younger version of you feeling that way, I want you to step into that version and you feel how they feel. And perhaps imagine the world upside down, but maybe hearing sounds like the sound of bells ringing, the smell of incense. I want you to get a feeling of how connected with yourself you feel. And just allow yourself to feel that way, and then imagine going off into a dream-like sleep. Back, perhaps to a house from your childhood, maybe a grandmother's house. And I want you to notice how orderly, structured, how clean and organized. And I want you to get a sense of the routines and predictability. And I want you to go to one of the rooms and see that younger version of you there. And I want you to tell that younger version of you that whatever has happened was not their fault. Whatever will happen is not their fault. That they are kind-hearted, generous, and they should embrace the empathy. I need to give that younger version of you a hug. Tell them they're loved, they're worthy, but most of all tell them that they are safe. And they are not safe because the world is safe. They are safe because of how discerning and resourceful they are, and can be, and will be more so. And then imagine climbing into a bed perhaps you used to sleep there, noticing the clean linen, everything organized and tidy. And as I count From 5 to 1, I want you to imagine what it would feel like to drift off into a dreamlike sleep. 5, eyelids getting heavier. 4, releasing any tension around the neck and the shoulders. 3, arms and legs just limp, loose and heavy. And 2, as you breathe, your lungs relax, stomach relaxes. Even your intestines all relax. And then 1, feel a ripple of relaxation from your toes to the top of your head, down your face, all the way to the tips of your fingers. And just notice there in that dreamlike sleep how easy it is to breathe in and breathe out slowly, predictably, and safely, still breathing in that color of distilled resourcefulness. That's it. Deeper and deeper relaxed. And I want you to feel, with each breath in, you feel strength and empowerment entering you. And with each breath out, feel any heavy emotions, old burdens just drifting away. Inhaling that golden light of color and exhaling any heaviness. Inhaling calm, exhaling tension. And with each breath, your nervous system calms, steadies, and resets. And as your body softens into this rhythm, I want you to imagine a warm golden light wrapping around you like a cozy blanket, almost like a shawl placed lovingly on your shoulders or wrapping around you in that bed. And this light is safety. This light is calm. And this light is protection. And with every inhale, that golden light flows deeper inside, calming your heart, steadying your breath, and relaxing your muscles. You are safe here. You are supported here. And you are strong. And when you feel that strength, it occurs to you, the strongest trees are not the ones that never face storms. The strongest trees are those that have survived wind, lightning, rain, and still stand tall. And every harsh season deepened their roots, widened their trunk, and made them unshakable. And just like those trees, you are stronger than ever before, because you have lived through storms, and you've seen darkness, and yet here you are. Still standing, still breathing, and still capable of peace, compassion, and strength. Your past gave you every reason to be angry, every reason to be dismissive, uncaring, and it didn't do that. And you are the proof that resilience is real, that sensitivity is not a weakness, it's a superpower, that empathy is not fragility, it is a different kind of strength, strength of the heart. And with this strength, you can calm your body calm your mind and feel safe in the world again. But I want your mind to take you back to a scene in a fairy tale. But you are selective, choosing only the bit of the fairy tale that is relevant and useful for you. Almost imagine like you're stepping into an old children's book and seeing a fairy tale spinning wheel in front of you, and beside it, bundles of straw. And you know intuitively that each bundle represents the experiences of your past. Some painful, some heavy, and some confusing. And as you sit before the spinning wheel, you place each straw, one by one, into the rhythm. And with each turn of the wheel, something magical happens. The straw transforms into shining, luminous gold. The straw was your past, and the spinning wheel is the meaning you choose to give it. And the gold, that is your present and your future. Something precious, something valuable, and something beautiful. All that you've endured, all that you've experienced, is raw material. And with the wisdom and empathy you carry now, you can transform it into gold. Peace, strength, clarity, and safety. And as you look at all of that gold, perhaps in threads or some other form, you accept it is your future. As you stare into the threads of gold, imagine now seeing yourself in the days and weeks ahead. But something's changed. This alchemy has harvested the value of the past to create something beautiful and valuable in your future. And you see yourself relaxed, safe, and calm. See yourself interacting with the world with discernment, trusting your intuition, yet feeling secure within yourself. Observe how you carry yourself with a quiet strength, a deep peace, and a radiant calmness that others can feel. And you can't help but conclude that you are more than what has happened. And you are more than the meaning you give it. And that meaning itself is golden. But the real value is choosing to enjoy the gold. I want you to get a sense that you could always choose to focus on the straw, to dwell on the past and act like the past will be your future. Or you could have that positive optimism that the future is full of wonderful probabilities. And what if, because you had more than your fair share of undesirable probabilities in the past. It's only just and fair that you have more than your fair share of wonderful experiences in your future. And as you stare into the gold, you feel that that's exactly what's going to happen. I want you to imagine leaving that fairy tale room with the spinning wheel, but take a bit of that gold with you. And then imagine awakening from that childhood bed, but still holding that golden blanket around you, feeling safe. And then imagine floating all the way back to that yoga room, feeling strong and powerful and healthy and full of vitality. And take that with you too, as you now return to your present, but taking all of these resources with you and feeling that you can let go of the past and just retain the wisdom. Very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, and you will awaken feeling resourceful. And any echoes of the past, any triggers or trauma, is an opportunity to spin that wheel and give that empowering golden new meaning to what was and what will be. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. And if you've enjoyed this show or got some benefit from it, you may know of one other friend or family member that may also benefit from this hypnosis session, in which case I'd like to ask a favor of you, and that is if you could spend 10 seconds to share this episode with someone that you know that may also benefit. That would really help me to access new people that don't already know about this show. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you again on the next episode.